everyone, let's get started. Let's get this party started. How's everyone doing today? That was sweet. I did this last time. How's everybody doing today? There you go. Is everyone going to network and meet some people and take yourself to the next level? Yes? Awesome, cool. Well, hey, we're glad you're here. My name is Jorge. I'm one of the managing partners at LA Commercial Investment Group. My partner is Abreu and John Akosha, who does acquisitions for us. We're happy to have you here. So for those of you that were with us the first time around, this is our second event, and it's a pretty good turnout, so we want to thank you guys for being here. We appreciate your support, and again, the reason that we're all here is to deliver value for each and every one of you, right? The goal is to meet somebody, have a connection with somebody, and maybe have one takeaway. Maybe you have one business partner, you develop one relationship that can help you in your business and take it to the next level. And that's what these meetings are all about. And we're going to be doing this every single month, as promised, and try to deliver as much value as possible. And hopefully we can do more deals and partner with people, and all of us make more money. Right? And that's really the end of the goal of the road, right? I guess that's a round of applause. So we have some great speakers today. George is going to be introducing those here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to kind of talk about a couple things. Just a couple housekeeping items. If you could please turn your cell phones off. We don't want those to go off during the meeting. I know sometimes it gets distracting when people are speaking up here. Remember to pay your tab. We don't be that girl or that guy or that gal to walk onto your tab. So make sure to pay your tab and obviously take care of the waivers. We're going to be passing out feedback forms at the end. We really appreciate it last time when you guys filled out the feedback forms. It really helped. Actually, everyone said pretty good stuff. Other than the parking sucked, and we know that, right? So we're going to try to work on that. So we appreciate your patience with the parking, but we'll get through that. So let's see. Let's introduce a couple of people. Actually, I want to introduce you to John, and he's going to say a couple words, and obviously the other team also.
This is John Akosha. I'm with the Elevate team. I focus on acquisitions and also raising capital. If you have any deals, you can send them my way. We typically look for city properties and secondary, tertiary, and primary markets. If you'd like to get my contact, my card should be in there on the front. Thanks so much.
All right, so we figured, obviously today we're going to be talking about passive investing, right? And I think last meeting we were playing more of an active role, and this month we want to talk about passive investing. But we looked at the feedback forms, and a lot of people wanted to see how you get started in multifamily. I mean, there's a lot of experience in this room, but there's also a lot of people that are new in this room, right? So what I wanted to do was share the experience that George and I had and how we started, right? So, and I think that may help some of you, and it may resonate with some of you, because some people may be like, well, how the heck do I get even started in multifamily, and what is multifamily, and I don't understand all these apartments, right? So, we started about a year and a half ago, close to 2 years ago, investing in multifamily, but thankfully we've been in the real estate business for 12 years. Right, we have done a lot of single-family homes, both wholesaling and rehabbing, and we have a construction company that we do all value-add stuff, renovating houses, renovating apartments, doing roofing, all that type of stuff. So luckily we had experience, right? So it's funny. George and I have worked very well over the years. He's more of the engineer, thinker brain, and I'm more of the reptile brain. Like, let's go without even thinking about it, right? So it makes for a good combination. But it's funny because number one, we always thought to ourselves like, all right, we need to get educated, right? So we were doing a couple jobs for some multifamily investors on some apartments, right? And then George started to get curious about it, and he was like, man, what's up with these apartments? We're always looking to have a competitive edge and maybe switch it up from single family to do something new. So he looked up a guy on Google that we knew from the guy that we looked at our single family stuff from, right? And many of you may know Ron LeGrand. That's where we learned our single family house business from. That was our mentor, right? So he Googled Dave Lindahl, right? And Dave Lindahl is a national guy, and he teaches people how to buy and sell apartments. So anyway, he sent me an email, and we kind of talked about it and said, yeah, cool, let's go to his event. So we went to his event, paid a couple $100, and next thing you know, at the event, we're dropping $40,000 in the back of the room on this full training, right? But my point is that you don't need to spend all that money to get a multifamily. I'm just kind of telling you our story, right? So what we decided to do was get educated, right? So we joined the Knowles group, we started connecting with people. We just talked to as many people as possible and figured out what it is that we needed to do and how to get started, right? So what did we do? We went to like his first training where they teach you the basics, all right? What's cap rate? What's NOI? What should a multifamily investor be looking for? Can you invest actively and passively? What are the differences between those two, right? And then we went to his underwriting class, and then we learned how to underwrite deals, right? And don't get me wrong, it's a huge learning curve, especially if you maybe just do single family, like it's a whole different ballgame and it can be pretty confusing, especially if you're not good with numbers. So anyway, we just kind of dug deep and started continuing to learn and started going to networking events and started meeting different people and just connecting ourselves with these people that are doing apartments and say, hey, how can we do deals with you? How can we partner with you? We have a lot of experience on the single family side. We've renovated, thousands of houses, and what can we do to help? And they're like, well, look, we got money for deals. Why don't you find deals? Okay, so what's your criteria? So we ask them what their criteria is, and then we go out, and then we start looking for it, right? And that's what we did. So, like, for example, our first deal that we did was in Temple, Texas. It was 37 units, right? So the first step is to get somewhat educated, right? Whether that's finding a mentor or paying somebody, right? And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to cost money. There's plenty of people in here that can be mentors. We can mentor you or whatever. But basically, get educated first, and then, I thought here for a second, get educated, and then we started looking for deals, right? So we took somebody else's criteria, and then we started going to networking and then seeing how we can connect with people. So I was literally sitting at, some of you may know this place, it's called Business Networking International, BNI. So there was a commercial broker in that event, and I told him, hey, we're getting into apartments for B and C multifamily properties, anything 75 units or greater that has some type of value add play in it, right? And he said, look, I really specialize in that type of stuff. I specialize more in retail, but let me put you in touch with somebody that I know that does apartments and has been doing it for a long time. Her name was Jan Blanchard with Blanchard Commercial Properties. So I reached out to her, told her, hey, this is my criteria. I sent her an email and said, hey, we're looking for vacancy type properties, 75 plus units. Actually, I think our criteria was a little different at that point because we were just starting out. We were like 30 plus units. Let me know if you have anything. So nothing ever came from that email, but she said, hey, no worries, we'll get you. I just keep coming out, but I'll send you a deal when we get something, right? So then I go to this meeting again, I don't know, maybe like 2 months later, and I sit next to the commercial broker that, told me to reach out to this guy. And then he's like, hey, Eric, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm great. And he's like, hey, have you done anything with Jan yet? And I go, no. But you know what, let me check in with her again. So as I'm sitting next to him, I text Jan and say, hey, Jan, do you have any more deals that I can look at, right? Has anything come up? And she goes, actually, I do. And she sent me the info, and next thing you know, like, we had a coach through Dave Lindahl, right? And he actually came in town, and we went to go see this. It was 37 units in Temple, Texas. He blessed the deal, right? We leveraged him. We didn't know what we were looking at. We know how to look at things from a value add perspective, because that's what we do. But we looked at him to like, okay, well, what are the things you look for, right? Like, the place has window units. Does it have central AC units? How are the roofs? What are we supposed to look at? Like, is this a good neighborhood, right? So we did that, and long story short, we ended up making an offer. He blessed the LOI, and then we felt comfortable and said, look, will you back us on this deal if we get it under contract? So basically, will you sponsor the deal and sign on the loan for us, because we can't do it because we don't have the experience, right? So he said, yeah, absolutely. So we submitted the LOI, and next thing you know, we had it under contract, right? And then we developed a partnership out of that, right? So, and that was our first deal, right? And then our second deal was a deal in Lawton, Oklahoma, in which John actually found us, right? We connected through some other single-family stuff that we did, and John was kind of looking for a new opportunity, and he was looking for multifamily. So we met with John and said, look, John, can you help us try to acquire stuff? Can you call every single, can you go to CoStar, right, which is the MLS for commercial real estate on steroids, and can you call every single broker out of CoStar and every single owner that's on there? And we did that, and that's all that he did day in, day out. And he found a broker that was willing to sell something off market. We evaluated, we underwrote it, and then we ended up submitting an offer, and then through some other people that we had networked with, got them to sponsor the deal, and next thing you know, we were the owner of that property, right? And then our third deal now that we're doing is 1,275 units in Houston. It's a monster, right? We started off with 37, and then we went to 216, and now we're doing almost 1,300 doors, which is freaking insane to me that we're doing that. We're super blessed to have that. But anyway, George went to the IMN conference here in Dallas. I couldn't make it that day, and we run into a buddy of ours that we went to high school with. And we're like, Mike, what the hell are you doing here? And then George actually texts me a picture, and he's like, look what I ran into. I'm like, holy cow, we haven't seen this guy like in over like 12, 15 years, right? And he's been doing multifamily. So what does he do? He specializes in buying portfolio projects all across the country, right? And he's been doing this for about 3.5 years. I think they've raised like over $650 million in equity in the last 3 years. So he tells us, look guys, let's do some business together. I like you guys. I know you guys like me. So let's do some business together. So he gave us his criteria, right? And said, XYZ, this is what we're looking for as far as portfolios, right? We need at least 400 plus units in these types of markets. So we went out and did exactly what he told us to do. Started reaching out to brokers, started reaching out to owners, and looking for this criteria. And then next thing you know, we have it under contract. We submit the LOI, and look, we can't take down a big portfolio project like that, but we have a partner that can. So we were able to partner with them, and now we're in the process of closing that deal, and we're going to be closing that deal. Hello? All right, here we go. So, it's just been a process, right? We've been planting seeds everywhere. I think, the two most important things is, either get yourself educated or find somebody that is already in the business, right? And say, hey, what can I do to help you grow so that I can grow? I want to learn. I'm willing to put in sweat equity. You don't got to pay me anything. I just want to learn from you. I want to follow you every single day and see what it is you're doing and how it is that you can either invest actively or passively in multifamily, right? So I don't know if did that help anybody for anybody that has never done anything? I mean, it's okay if you're new, right? Everybody has to start somewhere, right? So I just wanted to share kind of our experience, right, and just a brief synopsis. And if you want to hear more detail about it, you're welcome to come up to us after the meeting, speak to myself or George, and just kind of talk about it and see kind of what that process looks like. Look, it sucks getting started, right? You don't know what to do, you feel like you're lost, but as long as you connect with people that are doing this business already and just continue to stick with it, things are going to work out. So anyway, that's what I want to just start off with. A lot of people wrote in the feedback forums like, how do I get started? What do I do? What are the steps that I take, right? I know people approached us in the last couple of days. We were just meeting with somebody yesterday. There he is. I mean, he's for UPS right now, and he wants to get in the multifamily business, right? So he was like, the hell with this, I'm going to get my UPS uniform off, I'm going to get dressed, and I'm going to come to a networking meeting. So I congratulate you. Because a lot of people aren't willing to get uncomfortable to try to reach his goals, right? And if you don't have that mentality, you're not going to make it in this business. You're not going to make it in life at all. It's just anything that you do. So anyway, I think that's all we got, or at least that's all I got. We got a lot more stuff here today. So I'm going to pass it over to George. He's going to say a couple words and then introduce our speakers and then get started with our wonderful speakers today.
Hello everyone. My name is George. Obviously, a little bit about our background. Does the mic sound all right? Yeah. So we've got an amazing panel right here of passive investors, and I took myself off the panel again, second time in a row because we got so many on here. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions, and if I can get some input, I'll go ahead and do that. But a little history on myself as far as passive investing. Okay. So as far as my background in passive investing, obviously you heard how we got to active and how many units we have now and how we got there. At the same time that we were doing the active, I was also looking to invest passively. So about the same time we landed at 37 units, I realized we wanted to do more, bigger projects. I wanted to understand the passive standpoint, what that looks like, and okay. So what it looks like to be a passive investor and what passive investors are looking for in syndicators. So I had some funds and I decided to start deploying them right away. Since then, I'm now actively in 8 different syndications. They're all going pretty well. cash flowing, which is great. There's a couple that haven't started yet, but they're not stabilized yet. So that really gave me a good understanding on as far as the passive side and what, as far as it helps grow our active, because I now understand coming from a passive side what you're looking for being a passive investor, and that's helped how we reach out to our passive investors and what we deliver to them. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our panel, and I'm going to have them just introduce themselves first, talk a little bit about your experience in passive investing, what you've done so far, and one thing I didn't mention as far as myself, I plan to continue, even though we're having success with active, I still plan to continue to invest passively because I want cash flow. I mean, I want my money working for me. So I plan to hopefully do around 2 a quarter passively for really no end in sight, as long as I can. So I'll start with Nick. Go ahead.
Hello, first, George, thanks for having us up here. My name is Nic Espanet. I've been investing in passively for a little over 4 years. I'm in 7 different deals passively, and then I've sponsored 3 over 10 deals, and also have a passive investment in the deals that I've sponsored. Okay, so I started moved into multifamily from my wife and I wanted to do something different in the stock market, something more tangible, something that we can be involved in. And initially just started out doing it as for our retirement. But over time, we realized that it's something that could replace my 1099 income. I came from a no real estate background. I'm actually a physical therapist. I had a contract company doing home health, and just with some of the changes in the healthcare law, I started in real estate. It has very, very close. I'm at a point now where I'm coming close to completely replacing my 1099. So I started out kind of similar to what Eric said, with a mentor. I kind of learned. I spent a year just doing passive investments, and at that point, invested in 4 different deals, and it was a great experience to see how other sponsors sent information out, how they handled answering questions, and I kind of learned and took that into sponsoring my first. So I'm passively, I think we're in a little 1,700 units. I've sponsored over 450 units. So I have 3 deals. All of mine have been in Abilene, Texas. We just picked a tertiary. We started looking at tertiary markets because just less competition than the UFW. Our first deal in Abilene and just having that other deals. And we still invest passively. We just did earlier this year another passive deal. We actually have an LLC with some other family members, and every time you don't take any distributions out of it. Every time another 50 or 75,000 builds up from the distributions we got in that, we find another deal and invest in it. And so, I think it's successfully excludes. I've already heard that before. So finding somebody else that's done it, either someone that you can pay or somebody that you can pay with sweat equity to help teach you and learn the process. You don't have to learn those mistakes that can cost lots of zeros. Is the best way to go about it. But and another reason we passively invest is for tax purposes. We had 2 deals sell earlier this year, and we need I've deployed a little more than half of that in the deal we closed last month that I sponsored on, but I still have a portion that if by the end of the year I haven't come across another deal to sponsor, I will be looking for somebody to replace that before the end of the year just for tax relief.
Okay. Yeah, that was perfect.
I'm Damian Leonard. Started my real estate career about 20 years ago from the agency side. Bought my first rental, dealt with a bunch of homeowners and real estate investors here in the Metroplex, for banks over in Arlington. And did that for about 10 years. So in between the 2 booms, the 2001 bust to the 2009-2010 bust, decided the phone stopped ringing and customers really weren't there as much as I wanted them to be in the 2010 era, and wanted to start kind of my entrepreneurship of helping develop a home health care and hospice business with some guys that had operation in Dallas and wanted to expand over to Florida. So I'm on the Florida side. And did that for a couple years. Got it to profitability to where a big company came in and took over and bought us out. And I brought it to a wine import and distribution business. While listening to Lifestyles Unlimited and Dale Walmsley on the radio, driving around town all day and learn about, the aspects of multifamily being way better than single family. I didn't want to get back into single family, so I did the event with Dell back in 2013 while I was doing the wine distribution business. And I knew I wanted to get into it, but I was busy with that business that I was trying to get going and build up. And I just got antsy because I kept on pounding on the table. Now is the time to get into multifamily. Now is the time to get into multifamily. This is back in 2013, 2012 range. I was like, I gotta get into it.
That's always the time.
Yeah. So so I left the wine business and got into multifamily back in 2014. Brought so much group and just started throwing cash at it as quick as I could, teaming up with guys like Aaron Katz and Dustin Miles and Kenny Wolf and a bunch of other guys. And I was more interested in meeting good people. I wasn't really looking at properties per se. I was looking at guys that I could meet and have dinner and drinks with and do have a good common bond with them. People that I respected and trusted as far as their knowledge and whatnot. I'm more of a people person, so the profits will come if the people are good, kind of deal. So I've kind of pissed off some bosses in the past by saying it's people before profits. I'm all about helping people out and work with them. So that being said, I've invested in 8 deals in 5 states, and then just invested with George and Eric on the 1,275 doors. So that's put me about 2,500 doors in the last 5 years. Been in a couple of development deals with John Montero and Sean Pagante, and then senior living development up in Denton with Little One Buffalo and Awesome Good. So kind of rotating a little bit out of the existing DNC model into into some developments and doing that for longer term growth. And we'll eventually get into the GP side. I've made some offers on some deals, but haven't won out. And eventually I'll get there, but I'll probably forever be known as the soccer dad, and that's been my excuse for a couple of years because I've got a couple of teenagers that take me all over the state of Texas and Louisiana, Oklahoma, and whatnot. So club ball, and that keeps me busy. So I can't really focus on the GP side. So passive is where I've been, and look forward to doing more deals with more people. So if you're a lead, you need a passive investor with experience. Got Fannie Mae credit, been KP. So I have the credit and credentials that if you're a new person, you need to have somebody that comes along with you that has the Fannie Mae experience. I've got that, and wouldn't mind helping you out as far as like a second seat position. Not necessarily wouldn't be in the first position, but I wouldn't mind helping people out.
Hi, my name is Sandhya S Seshadri, and I moved to Dallas about 30 years ago to come to college here. And then after college, I have an electrical engineering degree, and then I went to work for Texas Instruments, based here in Dallas, after which I also got my business degree part-time. So after doing that for a while, I was married. Once I had children, I realized that balance of work and life is very important to me. So I didn't want to give up my schedule to be a, sorry to say, corporate slave. So that kind of got me into thinking, what else can I do that gives me a flexible schedule and still uses my intellect in a good way to produce something that allows me my true freedom, which is schedule and financial freedom. So I stumbled upon multifamily through a friend, and I started investing passively less than 2 years ago, and I liked it so much. I love the cash flow. I loved how I made money on when I was sleeping. And I decided to look around, and since I've lived so long in Dallas, I wanted to join a mentoring program that's based in Dallas to accelerate my learning so that one day I could be in the driver's seat, so to speak. So I still think I'm pretty inexperienced in terms of being ready for the driver's seat. So what I did was I started investing in more deals passively within our group, and I have learned so much. So passive investing is actually for knowledge, because now I'm in over a dozen deals, and in the last month I've invested in more, so I'm at over 2,800 doors right now. And so with every sponsor and every deal, there is so much I can learn from. So that's my biggest reason for being in passive, with freedom of schedule and lifestyle, cash flow while I sleep, and certainly the knowledge that I can gain from being a passive investor. So I did sponsor my first deal about a month ago, where I latched onto other experienced sponsors, and I'm in contract again for my second deal, again with experienced sponsors, because when you start taking other people's money, it's very important to be careful with it and do it right. So I still feel like I'm in a learning mode, and so the more I invest passively, that money comes. And many of you are familiar with the stock market, and you might have done really well in it, but even then you pay a lot in taxes. So I get a lot of tax savings by being a passive investor with just one active deal as a qualified real estate professional. So that's another big reason that I'm a passive investor. My other reason for being a passive investor is, that decade or so that I spent, over a decade actually, at Texas Instruments, I have this little thing called 401k. So I can't use that money to invest in anything but the stock market and mutual funds that I barely tracked on a weekly basis to know how they were performing. So I I converted all that money into an IRA. So now I can invest in real estate. And when you sponsor your own deal, you can't use your IRA money for it. So it's perfect for passive. So those are some of my reasons for being a passive investor.
Hi, Jorge. Thanks for having us. My name is Hoa Nguyen. So my background is actually an optometrist, and I wish I knew about multifamily investing. And I thought I was pretty educated, did everything classic textbook. Had a financial advisor, did all the IRAs, 401k, maximize everything. We really didn't venture into real estate until about 2016, and I
phenomenal marketing job you've done to get such a big crowd here. So awesome. Yeah. This is the biggest weekday meetup I've ever been to. So I'm Prashant. I've lived in Dallas for 20 plus years. I grew up in India. Did my engineering there. Did a year for my grad school. And after graduation, I've been in the high-tech space for the last 28 years or so. So I used to travel a lot across the country, enjoyed my job. But along the way, I always was interested in investing, try to get some supplemental income going. So as most people, I started in the stock market, did some, investments there, but soon realized that wasn't gonna help me retire sooner. So I started kind of moving away from that. I dabbled into some restaurant ventures, quickly realized that wasn't gonna be exciting enough. So then I switched to real estate. So my first foray into real estate was a single family condo that I bought. So back in 2005 when all this real estate, boom was going on, and I was traveling to Arizona and Florida, I used to read all these articles where people are making money flipping houses, buying homes, and within 3 months their house prices were going up. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do that same thing. So I went and bought a condo in Florida, of all the places. I bought it for $175. Less than a year, it was $300K on paper. Loved it. I thought I was a genius real estate investor. 2008 hit. The condo came down, $80,000. So that was my first lesson in real estate and exposure. So 2 things I learned there. A, get yourself educated. Don't do something just because somebody else is doing it, right? So I didn't educate myself on how real estate really worked. And B, I invested for the wrong reason. I was investing for appreciation where I should be looking really for cash flow. So there's a bunch of lessons that I learned over time that are helping me today. So that was my first one. I just sat still for a little while. 2011, when things started settling in, me and a couple of engineer friends had this genius idea of going into multifamily. 2011. We picked up some books, all 3 engineers. We thought, hey, let's pick up some books, learn about multifamily. Got a broker, went and looked at a 50 unit in Richardson right here, $20,000 a door. Book knowledge. That was the first time I'd ever seen a C-class apartment, so that kind of freaked me out a little bit when I first saw it. A lot of rehab work and stuff, and soon we realized that we didn't really know a whole lot about that business. We didn't know the right property management companies. How are you going to manage this? How are you going to finance it? So a lot of questions started popping up in our mind, and we went back home and said, you know what, this looks a little too complicated. Let's forget about it. So we moved on. We went on to buy a few more single families. Did well in that. I was doing my IT job. Fast forward to 2016. I just happened to be at a weekend event run by a multifamily expert here. My wife and I attended that 2-day event, relearned everything about multifamily, step by step, how to buy an apartment. But the one thing that clicked at that event for me was right under that one roof, I had real people who had invested in multifamily that I could talk to, that I could interact with. There were, lawyers, there were other service providers right under one roof. And that really was the missing link back in 2011. I didn't have that network that I needed to get the confidence and, get into that business. So right then I had, me and my wife decided this is it. We got everything right here. We screwed up in 2011. This is, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Jumped right in 2016. Within 7 or 8 months, we were invested in 1,800 units. So we deployed all our capital from our, IRA, stock market, we liquidated everything, moved right in. And fast forward to now, we have invested in 3,200 units passively, and we've sponsored 3 deals. So we've kind of stepped up. We are now buying our own apartments and So currently we are doing both passive investment as well as sponsorship. But like Eric was saying, education, networking, you guys are already here. That's great that you've already taken the first step. Get educated, meet with people who have done it, and you can get there. Right?
Thank you. Thank you, George, for getting us here and organizing this fabulous event. It's a pleasure. And I'll try to be fast. Hi, everyone. My name is Lana Blank. A couple of words about myself. I came to the U.S. from Russia to earn my MBA in finance, which I did successfully, and spent 2 years in corporate finance, private equity, which was great. But very early in my career, I realized that W2 is probably not the way to go long term if you want to establish your cash flow and get somewhere in life eventually. So I began investing in single family real estate a long while ago. And I've done all things you could think about possibly. Pre-foreclosures, flips, lease options, real estate notes, long-term rentals, you name it. I was pretty successful. I established my passive cash flow in single family housing, but it kind of became not exciting. I was looking, the cash flow was there, it was flowing, but it wasn't fulfilling anymore. So for a while, I was thinking, I had this burning question on the back of my mind, what's next? I knew I wanted to stay in real estate, because real estate is a vast area. I just couldn't possibly think about anything, what else I could do other than what I've already done. Okay, so I was searching. And then, thank God for Facebook, you might hate it, but once I came across this post from a friend of a friend, meaning someone I could actually relate to, type of thing. And it very simply said, hey guys, congratulations to everyone, we just distributed 11% annualized to all of our passives, so great job. And there was a nice picture of 20 to 30 people sitting in front of the apartment complex, and I was staring at this picture of the bird. I was like, seriously? 11%? And it hasn't been a year yet? And it was someone right here in DFW, someone I could completely relate to. So that was my one single aha moment. I looked at the picture and I decided right there and then that this is the way to go. I get single family, I'm in multifamily. So once I decide something, I go full speed. I began researching, talking to people, going to meetups. So I saw that picture back in the spring of last year. Very quickly, after doing my research and talking to people, I realized that this is a team sport. You cannot do it alone. So I joined their famous mentorship program here in DFW. It was back in July. And basically since then, I'm still going full speed. I've been investing at a rate of about 1 deal per month. And just like passive single family, cash flow is a business for me, I'm very passive. Now I consider myself a very active passive because I do tons of work. I do have specific goals that I need to achieve. It's not just a side hobby for me. I have a long list of criteria. This whole meetup time, 2 hours, would not be enough to discuss all of it, so I won't. But basically, just to let you know, if you want to be serious about it, once you wire the money, that's it. The money is gone. You have absolutely no control. That's why, if you want to achieve something, you have to do all your legwork up front before that money is gone out of your checking account. So what I personally do, I have my own CoStar subscription, meaning that I have all the market data available and I'm able to analyze on my own the deal, the market, the sub-market, the competition, the vacancy rates, and so on and so forth. I also very often have access to the inspector, to the lender, sometimes to the seller of the property. I could potentially talk to the other bidders since a lot of deals on the market. So basically all this huge amount of work is done up front. So once it's done, I wire the money, this is it. It's gone. That's it.
That's awesome. So, a lot of experience up here as far as investing passively. I know door count doesn't mean everything, cash flow and how much was invested, but I counted it between the 7 of us, it's over 12,000 doors invested passively. So, you get a chance to talk to somebody up here, pick their brain, definitely a lot of knowledge. As far as the next question, or first question, so multifamily. Why multifamily? There's a ton of different assets in real estate, so why multifamily?
Multifamily, one, it has the longer, so you're usually on a 12 months, the longest lease you're gonna have, so you can adjust to the market. People are always gonna need a place to live. People won't always be out, or, things change. That's another reason for the BC market is kind of in the middle. Whereas with the correction, you should have your occupancy shouldn't dip too much versus an A class new builds where there may be people may be stepping down to Bs at that point, but and just the growth being in Texas, DFW in Texas, with the number of people that are moving here, and it just is really driving the demand for housing. And that's why we look for landlord-friendly states with positive job growth, positive population growth.
Yeah, so as far as the questions, just whoever wants to continue on that question, go ahead.
When you start getting educated on the aspects of the math in multifamily, the forced appreciation is what caught my eye. Just being able to bump the rents $50 on 100 units across the board, increasing that value of that property $1 million or something like that. That's what intrigued me. That the fact that you're only getting one insurance policy, one mortgage, just of course, non-recourse loan. So if we hit a dip in the market and something hits the fan and the market goes south, that you're not on the hook if you're the GPO.
For a lot of reasons, both of them said, but also the fact that with multifamily you get both appreciation and value of your asset, but you also get the monthly cash flow. It's sort of like a dividend stock in a way. You get your monthly dividends, but you also get the appreciation, except instead of paying taxes on it with multifamily, you also get a tax break instead with cost segregation and bonus depreciation, for which I think we have some experts in the room.
I know passively this isn't, but I like to be passive in some of the sponsors who do a lot of community involvement. And when I first heard, oh, this is a feel-good business, I didn't understand what that meant. What does it mean to feel-good business? So yes, as investors, you want good returns. But when I actually see a lot of sponsors who are doing things within communities for the residents and having events for them, programs, I think that's a really touching part too. I like that aspect aside from just making money, actually building communities and connecting families.
I think all these are great points for sponsors and investors, but really if you look at it from a macro level, why do you want to be in that space? It's really this data out there where the demographic shifts that you're seeing, millennials are buying houses later on in their lives, right? They're renting longer. Also, baby boomers are moving from their bigger houses into apartments. So overall, there's shifts that are happening in the marketplace that make this asset class, I shouldn't call it asset class, but this asset type really a safe place to be longer term. I mean, there's going to be economic downturns coming, but overall, out of everything that's out there, it's a safer place to be. So that's really why you might want to consider being in the multifamily space.
Given the last person in line, I guess all I have to do is just to give an overall summary, right, of all the reasons. So financially speaking, the textbook definition is why do you want to invest in real estate, multifamily real estate specifically? 3 reasons. Cash flow, 1, capital appreciation at the end, as was mentioned, forced appreciation versus the single-family houses when it's out of your hand mostly, right? 2, and tax savings through depreciation. So financially. On a non-financial level, again, it was mentioned before, several things. You want to support community, you want to feel good. So by investing in multifamily, you're providing a safe environment for the people to live in, right? You want possibly to support the sponsor who's working hard. So that's also into the feel good category. And, the sense of community. I don't think anyone mentioned that, but that's actually one of the things that I enjoy a lot. We are all doing this together, okay? It's extremely fulfilling. The fact that we brainstorm together, we gather together, we discuss together, we exchange the ideas, we celebrate our successes. It's a great part of this business, non-business side of business.
I think one of us will take, a couple of guys, it's going to take forever for us to
Yeah, I'll start over there. And yeah, Lana, you're on point. So I was going to summarize it, but you got it. Next one is, so overall with this meetup, I want to keep it real and bring you good content, real content. So risks and rewards of multifamily. Can you go over that?
Yes, very briefly. Well, financially speaking, as a passive investor, your biggest risk is losing your entire capital. Okay? It's a bad thing because it sounds scary, your entire capital in the deal, but it's a good thing because you're limited to that versus the liability risks that general partner is potentially exposed to. But on the other hand, it actually gets better than that in terms of risk because no one forces you to put all your money into one deal. Actually, if you're smart, you're not going to do that anyway, right? So even if something goes wrong with one particular deal, God forbid, and you're losing your capital there, hopefully you still have all the other passive deals. So you're not losing all of your capital altogether. Rewards. This is more fun to talk about. And I would say the biggest reward that I could think of right away is getting up in the morning, in your pajamas, go to your computer or your laptop, log into your bank account, and the money just magically there. And you stare at it, and you look away, and you stare back, and it's still there. And sitting there, you just realize the best part is you didn't have to sacrifice anything. You didn't have to take time away from your kids, or your family, or your hobbies, or your life. You didn't have to do anything other than, well, nothing really. You didn't have to go to the mailbox, because now it's all electronic. So, once you experience this once or twice or more, it gets pretty addictive. So if you want to try it, guys, I'd highly recommend it. It feels fabulous.
Talking about multifamily. Nobody else? Okay. Let's see what else we got here. So, okay, this is a good one. So you talked about doing a lot of work on the front end. What type of questions do you like to ask the sponsorship team, and what do you think is the most important?
I can start. I've invested in 18, 19 deals, so for me, this may not be true for everybody, but for me, everything starts with the sponsor team. I want to know them, I want to trust them, I want to like them, I need to understand what their vision is. So if I'm not comfortable with the sponsor, I may not invest, doesn't matter how good the deal looks on paper. But when I look at the deal specifically, location becomes important. Location could be, looked at from a median income level, or could be looked at from a retail activity nearby level, or whatever that criteria might be. So location is something that I look at, and then digging deeper, of course, returns, the profile of the returns, because there are some deals that may not have that good of a cash flow return, but there might be a big pop in the back end. Some of the deals might be cash flowing, significantly, but with a small bump in the back end. So either deal is great as long as you understand it. So whoever's investing needs to understand what the deal looks like and what the expectation should be. And other things could be just, the assumptions that go in a deal, right? The rent growth expectations, the cap rate expectations. So those are getting a little deeper into analyzing an investment, but that's where the education part is going to come into play. So understand what are the components that go into underwriting these deals, and what does it mean that you have this return, right? There's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that make up that return. So you got to understand what's behind the scene that make up that return to make your own decision. So just a flow chart that, I typically go through before I decide to invest. Anything else?
So one thing I look for in a sponsorship team is their individual and combined track record. Have the sponsors worked together before, and do they work well as a team? Do they all have a common vision? But all the individual sponsors, whatever deals they've done in the past, how well have they met their pro forma numbers? Do they have a good explanation for when they did not meet those numbers? And just their track record is very useful to me to invest money with the sponsorship team.
Anybody else? Okay, so yeah, first, the sponsor team, very important. You want to know their track record and what their business plan is, and then digging into the deal. That comes with the education that we're all talking about, but very important things are exit cap, rent growth. Is it really sustainable what they're saying is going to be the rent growth, and do the comps show that? As far as the next question, so we kind of did 2 in 1. I was trying to split up the sponsor team and the deal itself. Does anybody have anything to say about the deal itself? What do you look for?
One thing I like to look at that mention is your debt coverage ratio and kind of what amount of stress the property can take in a year and still meet that 1.25 debt coverage ratio. Say you had flat rent growth or negative rent growth in that year, would they still be bringing in pay their debt service? So I think that's an important point. And we also stress test, what vacancy can we drop to, and we'd like to see where we give you your money. So this we could have this the break-even point on the, but the big one is the debt coverage ratio. You want to, because at that point it triggers some things within the loan and gets a lot more difficult. The bank's going to set up some different hurdles. So making sure the property can take on some stress and still meet their debt service.
For folks who have never invested in multifamily, I just want to elaborate on what he just said. So when we buy these apartments, we are taking a loan from the bank for 75 or 80% of the value of the property, all right? So the bank needs to be paid back. So that when he talks about debt coverage ratio, so we invest 20% of our own money, investor money, the rest comes from the bank. And all the cash flow that gets generated, first we need to pay the bank, and the rest goes to all of us. So when we talk about debt coverage ratio, we gotta look at, when we are looking at investing in something, we gotta make sure that we can pay everybody first, the banks and stuff. And is there enough money for us to get out of the deal to distribute cash to investors? Okay, I just want to kind of clarify that.
Go ahead.
I figured I'll just add something. Looking at a deal, the sponsor and location are 2 huge factors that single-handedly could kill or make your deal, basically, okay? And there's a lot of details we could go into under both of the categories. The deal itself, it's a whole different chapter of what financial I'm looking at a deal, so I'm not going to answer it under this particular question. But since we've talked about leverage, I just have to get this out in case there's no time at the end. Leverage, extremely important. Guys, a lot of passives don't realize how important the financing piece is. Actually, to tell you the truth, even some sponsors don't quite pay enough attention to this piece. But once I see the deal, that's pretty much after the sponsor is okay, the location is great, I look at the leverage. That's the next thing. And a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Generally speaking, right now, given where we are in the cycle, I'm trying to stay away from the short-term bridge loans. Again, not necessarily every single deal, but generally speaking, okay? Second thing, I always ask what my prepayment penalty is. And I know a lot of people might not agree with me, which is fine, by the way. I don't insist that my way is the right way. Just I know what's right for me. It might be something else for you. But I personally try to stay away from yield maintenance at this point, which is basically potentially could be a huge prepayment penalty if you try to exit at the wrong time in the market.
So if the deal has less than 4, preferably 5 years of interest only built in, I would stay away from yield maintenance. Sorry guys, I know some of you are doing it, but it's just my personal preference. Because I know we are in a low interest rate environment right now, and people are saying, well, hey, it cannot go any lower. Well, it can. You know, we could be in the zero rate environment for the next decade. And if 3 years from now we're trying to exit, and we're stuck with this huge yield maintenance, which could be up to 20% of your loan, excuse me, it would be very hard to overcome that, and you have no interest only left on your loan, it would be very hard to sell it on assumption. Because the buyer might not be exactly interested in taking on that huge monthly payment, you know, when they have some other options to go with. And one last point, I promise that's the last one, but this is something a lot of people don't realize. But whatever you look at upfront, whatever the lender tells you is what your financing going to be, is not set in stone. And there is absolutely no guarantee that this is actually going to happen. And I learned it the hard way, unfortunately. But apparently, just a little bit of wisdom, even for some experienced syndicators. Apparently, there are some lenders out there who knowingly will give you very aggressive quote upfront, just in order to urge your business. They would do it knowing that they're not going to meet the expectations. They would tell you that the interest rate is going to be this and this rate, and you're going to get your 80% LTV, so everything looks great. The deal looks fantastic. And then here we are 2 days prior to closing on the Fannie Mae loan, and oops, all of a sudden you're not getting your 80% LTV, you're getting your 65. And that's a completely different deal, okay? If it's brilliant cash flow and just off the charts return at 80, it's barely making anything, it's losing money at 65. So why the lender does it? Well, the funny thing is, what are you going to do as a sponsor? You have 2 days prior to closing. So what are your options? Walk away from the deal and leave 200, 400K on the table hard money? Probably not, right? So try to figure something out. And very likely scenario, you're going just to go with the bridge loan real fast. And since you have so little time left, but all the paperwork is done, all the fees are paid, all the inspections are done, everything is basically ready to go, you would go with the same lender. So the point is, lender still gets their business. Okay, it's a different loan, but lender gets their business. The syndicator is stuck trying to figure this out. Again, just something people don't talk about it, a lot of people don't realize it, but since I've lived through it, one of my deals, and I'm trying to share what I can kind of thing. Last sentence, bottom line, make sure look at your leverage, because it's completely essential piece of the puzzle. Thank you.
That's very important, very true. It's a lender retrade. Just like if somebody was trying to acquire a property and they came in lower to get the deal, knowing that they're going to retrade, and it's very similar. And unfortunately, it happens, but yeah, you got to be careful. One thing we haven't mentioned, which let's see if we can go through it real quick. What type of returns, IRR, cash on cash, those type of things, what do you look for nowadays?
When I started in 2016, typical profile of, return profile would be 100% 5-year return with 10 or 11% cash on cash, double-digit cash flow. In the last 3 years, because it's become so competitive, the yields have compressed a little bit. So today, a 70% return, total return over a 5-year period with 8 to 9% cash flow is considered a good deal. That equates to about 13, 14 IRR for a 5-year hold project. Who knows, if the market continues the way it's going, next year we'll be sitting here, it might be, 11, 12% IRR would be a good return. But that's what it is right now, 13, 14% IRR for the investors, 3 to 5-year hold. Yeah, so there's a project level return. I mean, what I'm talking about is passive return, okay? So the way the deals are structured is you have a sponsor who gets you the project, all the passives invest, the sponsor has to get paid, right? So they're gonna get what we call a promote or a sponsor compensation. So when the deals get presented to passives, they're really presenting you the passive level returns. So after everything else is deducted, all the sponsor fees, everything gets cut, that's your passive level return that you should be expecting in today's market.
make sure you clarify that, because I've seen some deals that say total return, and that may be talking about the total return of the deal. Whereas if you, as a passive, you want to make sure you're getting, they're letting you know what the passive is, what you're going to get in your life.
Anybody else want to add to returns? No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, yeah, and it all comes with, the higher the risk, maybe the higher the return.
Yeah, I mean, every investment, you gotta look at it from a risk-adjusted return, right? So if you want higher returns, you gotta take some risks. So you may have to buy properties in, some certain areas where others might not want to go, or that particular opportunity might be a heavier value-add opportunity where you may not see a whole lot of cash flow, but you might get a huge return in the back end. So you gotta look at it from a risk-adjusted perspective. But a typical deal that, that I've seen nowadays is, in the 13, 14 IRR range.
I've been looking more at the secondary and tertiary markets, which there's not as much pressure. So we're getting a little better returns, more than 75% total returns to passive investors, and 13% cash flow. As we make an offer, my deal's been in Abilene, we're saying that standards we don't compete with money that we're fundraising against DFW deals. We're committed to making those offers there. We're not trying to hit that 70% mark just because some people don't want to get out of the DFW market.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. Go ahead.
Just very quickly, one interesting thing. Sometimes, at this point, I have a lot of deals going through my inbox, so I look at them every day pretty much. So sometimes you do see deals that offer you or promise you 125, 150 total return over the 5 years. And, you might get excited, right? Well, no, not really. Because once you see that, those outliers, immediately go to the underwriting and check their assumptions. And you would see that once you adjust your rent growth and expenses in your reversion cap rate, you very quickly see that deal goes back to the 70 to 90% range total return over 5 years with the adjusted underwriting. So just be careful, basically. Don't take everything at the face value. Go further, investigate further, move under the hood.
Awesome. All right, we're getting a little pressed for time, so I'm going to kick it to Q&A. If anybody has, we'll take a couple questions. Anybody? Nobody has a question? Wait, we got one.
When you're considering a potential investment, how much time would you say you spend looking at that particular one before you decide yes or no? As a passive investor, if one lands in your inbox, you probably get more than you invest in. So, how much time do you spend evaluating one before you decide?
I kind of asked the question, the last time you bought an appliance or a car, how much time did you spend investigating it, looking at consumer reports or whatever else, right? Now think about this investment. You're going to put in probably $50K or more, so how much time does it deserve? So once you've done a few passives, you probably have a streamlined checklist, so you probably do it in a few hours at the most. But at the beginning, the very first deal you want to analyze, like a CoStar report like Lana does is excellent. So for example, I don't subscribe to CoStar, but I ask coaches about it. So that tells me like the median household income and the diversity of jobs in that area to support the rent growth in case of a downturn. Are we all depending on one thing like Detroit or something, right? So that's good to know. So you can never spend enough time on it, but the sponsors, if you've never met these sponsors and you've just known them through Facebook and you're getting an email, well, how much time should you spend? Or just go ahead and drop the $20 and do a background check on every one of them, right? You're going to put $50K? Maybe $60, $100 is worth it to do that, right? So there is no limit, but I would say at least a couple of hours to analyze it once you've got your process streamlined.
So I actually spent a good amount of time, especially when I was starting off, because I was like, I want to make sure, aside from knowing the sponsors, so I will not only just speak, face-to-face with sponsors, I will drive to the property. If it's local, because when I first started, my market was Texas, so it was DFW, San Antonio was really where I wanted to invest, because that's where eventually I wanted to go active. So that's where I passively invested. So not only do I really have to have a good relationship with the sponsor, I physically visit each property before I put money out.
the more you know about the sponsor, probably the less time you have to spend on it. If you like them, know them, trust them, and you know the area that they're investing in, you're probably not going to spend as much time as if you're going outside your comfort zone. If you're investing out of state with somebody that you may know but not too well, you're going to spend some more time looking at the crime reports, location, talking to brokers in that area to get a little bit better idea of what you're investing in.
That's a great point. Any other questions?
Everybody talking about the sponsor is very important for the new passive investor. How do you find out the sponsor's tracking record?
Yeah, great question. Ask them for it. I mean, that needs, should be part of the webinar, the presentation when you meet them, what deals they've done. That's a great part of being within an ecosystem of a mentor. You know, there's several groups around DFW. You can meet other people that have met them. We have these meetups, you get together and ask other people. I mean, ask for references. You know, people won't come out and speak poorly about somebody, but you know, there's been a couple of deals that haven't gone well, and if somebody asked me directly, I would tell them I probably wouldn't, I'm not going to go out and shout up from the rooftop, but if somebody that asked me about a deal, or somebody that sponsored, I would be open with them.
Which ones?
Well, and just because somebody had a deal that went bad doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad deal sponsors. That happens.
That's something we're being transparent. Our first deal, we had trouble with the property management company, had to change them 6 months into it, but we try to communicate that with our sponsors, with our passive investors, and let them know what was going on. And we had people that invested in the second deal after that. And that deal's doing well now, but we had 6 months that were pretty challenging on that first property that we had.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, I'm going to add something different again. This is all pretty obvious, right? I mean, you talk to the person, you talk to the people who know the person, you talk to whoever else you could talk to, we'll look at the papers, we'll do that. But here's the thing. Over the last several years, the way the market, the multifamily market has been, a lot of people made a lot of money. A lot of people made astronomical amount of money. And not necessarily because they're so brilliant. Okay, market kind of lifted everyone up. So yes, you look at the track record and you see this great deal, this double investors' money. Unfortunately, it does not necessarily mean that it's a great sponsor. You know, it might be just the market condition. And vice versa, by the way. If things go wrong, it's not necessarily a sponsor. You gotta, back to my point, you gotta look under the hood if you really want to be successful, not lose your money. Okay, because there might be some factors outside of total, right? We all know that. Outside of sponsors' control. The city might decide to change the play rules completely. And then, but how did the sponsor react to that? Okay, even if the returns are not there, well, the way the sponsor reacted, you totally want to be with this person on the next deal because you know how they do business. Okay, so, and again, something I've learned over the last year, track record is not necessarily something, everything. You gotta, yeah, absolutely, you gotta dig much deeper. And by the way, vice versa, if it's a first time person, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, very often it's a great thing. Because if you could judge, you know, just use your best judgment. If it's a financially sound person, go-getter, they're really eager to deliver the results. Some first-time syndicators delivered outstanding results, outstanding, better than the experienced sponsors. So, multiple layers. Back to the point, it's multiple layers, even in as simple as that.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, everybody here can get the questions I ask the sponsor team before I invest passively. And a lot of it has to do with asset management and their business plan and how they're actually going to perform that. And I dig pretty deep because it's important. Like you said, a lot of people, the asset management part of it has been non-existent for the past couple of years just because the market has been so good. But when that market turns, the ones that really know how to run the asset are the ones that are going to be successful. The ones that don't, they're going to feel it. So luckily it's multifamily and hopefully, you know, they bought right.
Like me, you throw money at George and you don't even ask any questions because you don't like
I like that.
I spent 5 minutes doing that as a deal.
I know you had a question. This will be the last one and then we got a couple of weeks. do need.
Yeah, I think the combination is the best option, right? Definitely you gotta network, because there's only so much you can get from formal, reading a book or just listening to a video and stuff. You gotta talk to real people who are in the business, who are doing it, who've learned, go to these meetups and stuff. But in terms of the education part of it, you can always join these groups that are out there, paid for groups. I mean, that's not a requirement, but I'm sure there's a lot of videos on YouTube that you can look at and read books. I mean, today there's so many avenues where you can really get, some accelerated education in multifamily. There's lots of gurus out there who can, impart their knowledge. There's a lot of events going on around the country where you can go and, listen to people speak who are into this business. So there's a lot of avenues, but definitely no substitute for the networking aspect of it. I mean, you gotta do it to get in the business. Not just for education, but there's a lot of opportunity that, you might run into by talking to some other people. There might be some partnership opportunities, there might be some investing opportunities, sponsorship opportunities. So that would be my advice.
I would add podcast. The Old Capital podcast was great for me early on. Learned the terminology, just the way things are funded. Those guys do a real good job of kind of catering towards first-time investors. But kind of add on to what Prashant said, being within a group, you're going to meet people. You're going to give you a credibility with the brokers, the selling brokers that you may not have if you went out by yourself and wanted to make an offer on a property, or have them even call you back. If you can say I'm with this group or another group, or with some guys that have already done a deal, it gives you credibility with that broker, and they're more likely to return your call or accept your offer because they know you have a better chance of closing.
Yeah, and I've kind of gone both routes. Like Eric said, we dropped $40,000 and joined a group and got educated that way. But also after that, I did a lot of networking in all the different groups without really paying, just going to their events. And that's really what accelerated our growth, was meeting those people and partnering with the right people and just bringing value to someone that is doing deals and that you can grow with them. Just bring them value and learn that way. And I think if I just did that from the beginning, maybe in the same place. Okay, so that's going to be it for the panel. I just got a couple things. Can everybody take out their phones and go to Facebook and search for Elevate Commercial Investment Group? If you do that and like it, I'd appreciate it. But also, you will see on the top, I've pinned a passive investment opportunity. So it's a 506c only for accredited investors. But those of you that are curious what it looks like, that would be a good example. The page is Elevate Commercial Investment Group. And we'll also be posting free content and education there. We're going to start building a lot more content, whether it's podcasts, videos, obviously events. Speaking of events, so next month, October, we're not going to do this meetup. We're actually teaming up with some other sponsors, with Dustin Miles, Aiden, which I think is still here somewhere. There he is. And we got Kenny Wolf, Kaylee, and a couple others. They're going to be joining us, and we're going to do, it's on Saturday, October 19th. Same thing on that Facebook page. If you go there, the event's there. We're going to go to a property that Dustin purchased and sold, and the new buyer is going to be there as well. It's going to be a pretty cool event. We're going to go through the whole process from him buying it, selling it, from the buyer buying it. I'm going to look at it as far as due diligence and if I was to buy the property and a lot of good stuff. So check that out. And then probably in November, we'll come back to doing a meetup for Thanksgiving. Okay. And then I also wanted to bring David and John from J&T, and they're going to quickly talk about what J&T can do to help active
like to work with you as early in the process as possible in order to kind of help you assess what's needed. We're trying to currently build processes to do due diligence and offer that service out as well. Just trying to get that kind of rolled out. As far as the only thing I'll let John talk about roofing. But yeah, it's basically a quick rundown of what J&T does. So, general contracting, and we help with anything you can think of for your property.
All right, a lot of familiar faces in here. I'll be quick because I know we want to get to meeting and do a little networking. Jonathan Sherwood, I'm the president of the roofing division. We specialize in multifamily and commercial systems. That's going to be anything from low slope, otherwise known as a flat roof, to a steep slope, which would be your shingle or your pitch roofs. Multifamily, a couple key things when dealing with these type of roof systems. We want to mobilize quickly. Reason being, you guys want to have those roofs on so you can start any other renovations on the exterior to the interior. That way we don't have any type of damage coming from a failing system below the roof line. Second thing is we've got to be very aggressive in the pricing. The reason that these investments are made are obviously to turn profit and to make sure that the money's making money. We usually will run around $2 a square foot on the pitch roofing systems, sometimes a little under, sometimes a little over, depending on what we're dealing with as far as multiple layers of pitches. And then with low slope systems, we're going to offer a lot of different options, anything from single ply installs, layovers, and then we dial in a lot on roof restorations. And the reason being it's non-sacrificial, meaning you don't lose any of the product. It's monolithic, so you get rid of all your fasteners and your seams. And then from an investment standpoint, there's no depreciation on the tax write-off. It can all be taxable. The one thing that we do like partnering with the investors is you guys get to improve the property in the community. So I'd say, the key thing in this, other than the returns on it, is helping out the community and making those properties better. So I always say, and we say this around the office, it's not the roof that counts, but it's under the roof that counts.
Okay, I want to thank the panel. They did amazing. And thank you all for coming out. Hope to see you next time, and I hope you enjoyed it.